good, y'all? It's the one and only King Cal 516 live in the mix. This is the Switch Flames podcast. Be sure to check out our website, www.switchflames.com. Hit us up on Twitter at Switch Flames, and definitely check out the Facebook page at Switch Flames Podcast. So let's dive in. So according to Mark Stein, the Celtics may have some interest in bringing back Isiah Thomas. So I want to dissect this because I really find this interesting, because years back when the Celtics traded Isiah Thomas, I thought that was very foul. And there's a lot of people behind the scenes in the NBA circles that didn't like that treatment of Isiah Thomas, especially coming from the players. And so, I'll be honest with you, the Celtics' image and brand has been tainted a lot since that situation. Let me give you one example. When the whole ordeal with Anthony Davis and the teams he wanted to be traded to, the Celtics were definitely interested in trying to bring AD, maybe partner him, maybe be a way to talk to Kyrie into partnering with AD. But remember when the Celtics were trying to make moves towards getting AD's father came out and said, I wouldn't want my son playing for that team, especially after the way they treated Isiah Thomas. And I'm just paraphrasing that. But basically, AD's dad comes out into the media and talks about he didn't like the way Isiah Thomas get treated, so why would he want his son to play for a team like that? Now, who's to say that didn't come from AD? We don't know. And maybe AD not wanting to be that kind of mouthpiece. Maybe he gave it to his dad to give out there to just keep the Celtics at bay. Because the truth was, even if the Celtics laid the chips on the table with AD wouldn't have re-signed with them. That's facts. That's just the truth and reality of the situation. So the Celtics brand has been hindered in the last few years to really draw in these key free agents, these really big time free agents. Now, they were able to get Kemba Walker. They were able to get Gordon Hayward years back. But ultimately, the image around the elite superstars has been tainted where, none of these guys are interested in the Celtics like that. So I believe the Celtics this offseason, Danny Ainge was already, ready to move on. And so I believe sometime this year they started getting this succession plan in order. And Brad Stevens was always looked upon as the guy to take this thing over. And now it worked for Brad Stevens, because I believe Brad Stevens, even coaching the Celtics, he probably started to feel like he's reached his peak of where he can take the team. So this just was a perfect timing for the Celtics to move Ainge out, and Ainge was definitely ready to go. And now he's in Utah with his family doing his thing, and he's also has a position now with the Utah Jazz. And Brad Stevens was able to move up now to control the Celtics. And so what they do, first of all, they hire a coach, Duque, right? Who's known as what? He's known as a players-friendly coach. So already now you're changing the dynamics of the actual team and how it's managed, because Brad Stevens was never looked upon as a player-friendly coach. Actually, with everything that you hear rumored-wise, you would hear that Brad Stevens is bumping heads with these guys. Sometimes that happens with these college coaches that come into the league. You know what I mean? Sometimes, their relationship with the players is a little different, because you can't treat NBA players like you treat college kids. These are grown men making millions of dollars. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like you have to earn their respect. Where in college, they usually go to school because they respect you as a coach because you have a winning program. Two different things. NBA, you have to earn their respect. You just don't get it because you're in that position. So it's a little different dynamic. So Duque now comes in, who I think will be a great coach. And I think Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown would thrive under this coach. But the Celtics are an incomplete team, and they need to keep tooling to get better. Because the East, over the last 2 years, has gotten a whole lot stronger. And the Celtics, at one point being considered one of the top echelon teams, they're no longer that. They're more of a middle pack team in the East right now, easily. And so they need to do some retooling quickly, which is weird because they have a budding superstar in Jason Tatum and a rising all-star in Jaylen Brown, two really great players who are still young and still getting better. But they don't have the right mix of players around them, and I believe that they know that, and they've been trying to retool a little bit around the edges of what they can. But this whole Isiah Thomas situation coming out in the press, now he's on a tear in the Drew League right now. Isiah Thomas is tearing it up, but that's still not NBA competition. And the key thing with Isiah Thomas has always been he's because of his height, because of his size, he's a defensive liability out there. But the reason why he was able to get away with it before, because he was still such an offensive juggernaut. He was, that last year in the Celtics, he was averaging pretty much 30 points a game. So he was on a tear. So you could take some of the defensive lack of defensive ability if you're scoring that much. Now the question is, can he still be a high volume scorer? I'm not sure. But I still feel like this would be a good story if the Celtics do pursue this and give him a small deal, just to try to help him out. And that could be used because, you know what? Just as getting out in the media is not good enough. The Celtics, really to make right by Isiah Thomas, should bring him along. And I do think the Celtics should give him a spot on the roster, even if it's a minimum deal, just to give him a look. You know what I'm saying? So he can rebuild himself and maybe help him get a couple more years in the league. And hey, if it doesn't work out, yeah, you can let him go. But I am not surprised by this report. Now, I'm not 100% sure the Celtics are really going to push for this to happen. But I do feel like Brad Stevens is a little bit closer to Isiah Thomas than Danny Ainge was. So I believe there might be some sentimental value from Brad Stevens that Danny Ainge didn't have. Danny Ainge was just completely cutthroat. And remember this whole situation with Isiah Thomas. The man's sister just died. The man was playing hurt, and he still came back to give all he had for the Celtics. Now, they didn't advance. They didn't win. I get it. But the man played hurt. After his sister died, the man didn't have to play. And he put it all on the line, and you guys get rid of him so you don't have to be forced to give him money that you didn't want to give him. I get it. It's a dog-eat-dog world, but that one business move has really tainted the Celtics organization. So we'll see if they try to fix it. I believe they should bring him in. Just give him a little shot, give him a small contract, low risk, possibly high value. You know what I'm saying? He looks like he's healthy right now. Give him a chance, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, you can move on. But if there's one NBA team that owes Isiah Thomas a shot, it's the Boston Celtics. I'm just going to put that out there. With that, it's been your boy, King Cal 516, live in the mix. This has been the Switch Flames Podcast.